My interest is in science, philosophy, and the arts. I do a lot of reading, especially in cognitive science. A lot of the information that's now coming out of the sciences that has to do with how our brains work. And one of the big areas is memory. I also got really interested in the idea of how accurate is our memory. My wife and I had been in Cuba about 4 years ago. We went there with a group, and they went to a Jewish cemetery. That's where we went with them. This was a small cemetery, and they each had these images, these images around the tombstones there. I just photographed every one of the images. Then I was doing this reading, as I said, in cognitive science about memory, and I got interested in how do I do something with that, and I had these photographs, so I enlarged them, and then I encased it in caustic wax, and the honey has a sweet smell to it, right? So it also obscures the image a little bit. So then the books were a chance for people to, if they have a feeling or even a memory that shows up, which most people will, literally they'll say, this is my grandmother and she died when I was 7 and I remember her dress and the way her hair was. I can still remember the way she smelled, and and it's like a little line, stories like that. Sometimes it's like poetry. So what is it about human beings that they have to write a narrative no matter what? I mean, we sweat meaning, we humans, right? You remove a human being's capacity to mean something and they are lost. So time has everything, a great deal to do with memory. I'm also incredibly interested in language. I think, by the way, without the capacity for language, humans wouldn't be much different than chimpanzees. Language for us, like birds build nests, we build languages, and our language builds culture. It's in that structure that we excel. But I think it's language primarily that does it. It's not opposable thumbs or all the other things we've come up with, right? So I think a lot of our experience of time happens because of language. So the next thing is that language goes out of style, and not only that, language dies. There are words in any given language that if you were to dig them up, you wouldn't know what they meant. And then there are words who just slip into other words. They kind of sneak out of the room and they come back in other guises, yeah? And when we experience those, we actually have an experience of time. We have an experience of another place, another time, and so on. So that's the idea of that piece. And what I did was I went online. Every 100 years, I would find whatever the faddish words were. And one side, it starts from today. So there's like meme, for instance. And then you keep going back and back. You go through GAMS, and you go through the 60s and all the way back to the 1800s. And the idea is, as somebody, and that's the other thing, again, it's, interaction. In order to get that piece, you have to walk it. You have to actually move through space. The idea is that we create our experience of the past and the future, and the only thing we really have is the exact moment. I mean, as I speak, the word I speak and the exact moment I speak is the only experience we have that is actually now.